Hey, how you doing? This is James with JAC Shop here, back on this 1995 Chevrolet with the intake manifold that was leaking. Um, I believe in the last video I had the intake manifold off and the heater inlet on the back side of the intake manifold had broken off even. I since then have some pictures I'll probably be posting down below in this video of me removing that. I did have to buy a tap. Easiest way I found to get it out, and because it's kind of like a pot metal, those quick connect fittings that they give you, they're real light metal, soft. So basically the easy out goes in, bottoms out. You can't really use an easy out on it unless you cut it in half or modify your tool, which there are some that are shorter that will fit it, but it was stuck. It wasn't going to come out, so I took a small hacksaw. I do have a tiny one that I use for plumbing when I'm doing plumbing work, and it's probably a 1/4 inch thick hacksaw, just a small one, and it fit down in there perfect. And what I did is went around and just cut that light metal, the fitting itself, down to the threads, but I did not go into the threads. You can feel the difference when you get to the threads because the soft metal is easy to cut, and then of course the intake manifold, when you get to the threads, you feel it. You'll feel that pop, 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 on the threads. I didn't cut into the threads. I did really good. I went all the way around, did about 8 places, and then I got a real small chisel and a BMF. Most people know, that's a big hammer. And chiseled the pieces out the best I could without damaging anything, of course. And then I had to go to the, actually Ace Hardware had it's a 1/2 inch NPT National Pipe Thread 14 and tap, and it's a special tap, so I went and got that, and something new for my toolbox that'll probably be sitting in there, maybe use a couple times, who knows, first time I ever needed one, but it's there now if I ever need it. So that's the way it works. That's what we do as mechanics. We spend a lot of money on tools. It's endless. You spend a lot of money on lights, you spend a lot of money on tools. I have a lot of different types of lights. All I can tell you is one mechanic to another, don't go cheap. When it comes to lighting, you want to see what you're doing. You want to be able to get in here and have a good light. You see I got this light here from Matco. You can also find it aftermarket, Amazon. But I've had this thing. It rode all around Daytona. I forgot it, left it up underneath one of the buses when I was working there, and it rode around Daytona for a full day. Magnet stuck up underneath the bus on until it went dead. And I knew what bus I worked on the day before. When I needed it the next night, I was like, uh-oh, I had to go find it. This is about a $90 light. Has 3 functions. And it's really good because it does swivel down here on the bottom. Kind of hard in filming this myself, but you'll see that it swivels down on the bottom, so you can magnetically put it onto something, turn it on, and leave it there, and it illuminates everything real nice. It does a really good job. This is the manifold when it's all done. I have gotten it put back on. I did go ahead and got those pieces out, tapped that hole, made sure that I went ahead and when I clean everything on the intake manifold, I cleaned it really well. And then what you do is you clean your surfaces, your mating surfaces from your heads, on your heads where they mate with your intake manifold. And of course you clean the bottom side of the intake manifold, and usually there's some gump on the bottom if it hadn't had regular oil changes. This vehicle's been mine since 1996. It's a 1995, so this has had regular oil changes every 3,000 miles. So this thing was clean as a whistle inside, and it still is. It's still got good compression, everything. It's a good motor. I haven't beat it. I've taken care of it. It's always had maintenance. Everything that's done to it, I did to it myself. I've changed the water pump twice in a lifetime. 360,000. That's pretty usual. Normal stuff. Alternator. But anyways, make sure you tap all your holes in your head that your bolts for your intake manifold tighten down to. I went around and made sure I run a tap through every hole, and I took my die and I tapped every bolt and made sure I inspected every bolt, made sure that the bolts looked good and were not cracked, clean. And as I went around, I put a little bit of RTV on each bolt, because those bolts do go clean through the head into the valley. So you want to make sure, put a little bit of RTV on them. It doesn't hurt. Torqued them all to 35 foot-pounds. That's what its torque spec is. And made sure that there's a sequence you start. You usually always start with something like this. You start in the middle, and you work across from each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, way on the end. And you just work your way around, and then you start over again. Usually when you torque something down, you're going to start back over again, and you're going to tighten from the middle again, and you're going to find, oh, that one's loose again. Well, that's normal. It's basically, this is settling. You're settling it in. A lot of vehicles, you have 3 different torque settings. Some vehicles, when you're torquing stuff, you may torque it down to not a spec, but a degree. So you're going to torque it down to, say, 20 pounds, then you're going to go to 40 pounds, and then you're going to go plus 90, or something like that. Whatever their torque specification of the manufacturer is, that's the way they do them. And again, I'll show you, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I cleaned out that hole really well back here. I don't know how good you can see it or what you can see, but I will hold the camera up there. I usually don't get to see until I check the video and see whether or not it showed anything up. But I wish I had a better way of filming, but I'm just using my phone. Don't have a lot of money in camera equipment or anything like that just yet. Do plan on getting some one day. Again, there goes that money you spend when you're a mechanic. If you want to do videos, you got to have video equipment. So I'm going to have to get some cameras so that I can set them up. I didn't film this 100% through start to finish as far as taking the bolts out and all the individual stuff due to the fact that it's basically a lot of bolts and nuts. It's not anything special. Basically a little RTV across here. You got the gasket. You'll see the new gasket in here. Both sides. It's got an intake manifold gasket on both sides. And then on the ends, it used to be they had a rubber piece that fit there. We don't use that anymore. They just use RTV. You'll notice that I used gray RTV. I particularly like the gray. The gasket itself is a Fel-Pro. And the RTV that they give you that comes with the gasket, they do give you RTV, and it's the black silicone RTV. It's a good RTV. Nothing wrong with it. I like the gray. Gray is a GM. It's a GM RTV sealant, and it works really well. So I never have any problems with it. Knock on wood. Let's not start jinxing myself now. Find some wood. So anyways, this is James at JAC Shop. You'll see I'm not completely done. Maybe the next step of the way, I'll get my grandson to come out and help me video, and maybe I'll show you the rest of the way through it. I am going to have to replace that distributor cap and rotor. Like I said, I could look in there and see that it wasn't running concentric with the rotor and the cap, which really bothers me, because you want a nice even spark. You don't want to have a big gap on one side of the cap and a small gap on the other. It seemed to be running okay, other than that a high idle, it would every once in a while you would feel it could have a dead miss or something, but it was very brief. It wasn't consistent. Wasn't one cylinder or another cylinder. It was This vehicle's a 95. The DLC is OBD1. So unless you got Tech 2 and backward, you know, they can read it. I don't have any of that. I actually have the little thing that plugs into the dash, and it wasn't giving me any codes as far as misfires or anything of that sort. So only thing this thing's ever given me was an EGR code, and of course I put a new EGR valve in it, and of course the EGR ports on this were pretty dirty, and I cleaned them really well when I had it off. It's good, you know, to take it off like that and be able to clean that, because they do get plugged up with quite a bit of carbon buildup. Alright, well, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.